Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SB Reacts where today we have ourselves a track from an act named Maddie Rose titled Show Me the Light. And if we switch over to here, we've got ourselves a track I think on Spotify if I'm not mistaken. Here got the art up on the screen. I think this is their first single that they've got on Spotify. I have reviewed music from them before. We're going to listen through this track from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. I should also note that we're going to be giving the song an overall score out of 10 based on various musical criteria. But let's go, let's do it. Show me the light. Lyrics here as well.
I'm so hurt from what you did. You broke me bad, I can't be fixed. Erase these memories off my skin. It hurts to ever think of you again. It's been a year now, gotta figure out how.
Great transition there. Great call and response.
I'm so strong from what you did. You broke me open, but now I'm fixed. I spent a whole year with myself, hoping maybe I might get some help. Well, it's been a year now, gotta figure out how to sleep well at night, spending days in my house, never go out, a never-ending fight. Show me the light.
Interesting how it spirals down, you know.
Try to forgive, then maybe I'll never have to feel this way again. It's been a year now, gotta figure out how to sleep well at night, spending days in my house, never go out, a never-ending fight. It's been a year now, gotta figure out how to sleep well at night, spending days in my house, never go out, a never-ending fight. Show me the light. Show me the
It's an incredibly strong vocal performance. I do quite dig this track. We're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Maddie Rose, titled Show Me the Light. Now, first of all, we'll go any further. I want to let you know that I've given this song an overall score of 8.1 out of 10. I've got the score on the screen, various criteria below, but just in this section, I'm going to be giving an overall analysis of the track, you know, as well as sort of providing any applicable constructive critique. And then finally, I'm going to be putting my sort of like overall thoughts together from a general listener's perspective. But first of all, what do we think this track is about? I think this is about someone who's just genuinely struggled to get past the horrific things that have been done to them by someone that they really care deeply about. You know, got these lines of, I'm so hurt from what you did, you broke me, but I can't be fixed. Erase these memories off of my skin. I mean, this is some really deep stuff, and I mean that sincerely, you know, not in a disingenuous way. When they talk about it being a year now, you do get a real feeling of the fact that they've just struggled to get past it. The time hasn't healed those wounds. They've got to figure out how to sleep well at night and, spending days in their house, never going out, never ending fight, that they're struggling within themselves as well. The after effects of the turmoil that they went through are now their reality, and they're kind of trying to sort of find a way to progress forward with that. But it's terrible. I'm sure there'll be an audience of people who can relate, unfortunately, to the position that Maddie Rose is in. I'm just thankful that the vocals were done tremendously well. There's this wonderful sort of fry, this kind of weird kind of grittiness that's, again, not a bad thing. It's just kind of a raw tone in some parts that illustrate just how, severely this has impacted Maddie Rose. They're so authentic on the microphone. It's wonderful to listen to them. There are moments where they're a little bit quieter and a little bit more vulnerable, and other points where they call out and they kind of tumble down, and the keys or an instrument kind of call and responds with them, and sort of that pattern, like things are dancing between the reality and themselves. Like in the verse section there, when you've got the piano accompaniment there, you can tell that we're kind of reasoning through the position that we're in. And it's more conversational. In the hook section, we go up a little bit, we get a bit more intense, but it's never too much. And there are some really interesting background vocals, such as at like the 1:08 mark, where like it's very atmospheric and kind of eerie, like the thoughts in our head swirling around. And then the calling out that we have, the sort of more melodic attempts, vocals rather than just a storytelling device around the 3-minute mark are fantastic as well. It's just having that sense of additional coloration, the kind of the grief that we're experiencing put out onto mic. And with other belts as well, and some really interesting tails on the vocal melodies and other parts as well. It's just really, I like how explorative it is. We haven't just managed to tell the story, we've also managed to do it in a way where we're trying to sort of enhance the experience by showing our proficiency as a singer as well, in a way that is tasteful, delicate, and it's a really strong single. And so I feel that the vocals pair well with the expression of the piece. They suit the mood of the lyrics. When I look at the structure of the track itself, with various instrumental sections, but with a predominant sort of focus on the vocals as a main focal point, with its various verses and choruses, I feel that it's just a really well thought out, sensible song. It's right within that 2 to 4 minute sweet spot, where if it's less than 2 minutes, you might be missing some important sort of crucial information, or you might have sort of underdeveloped some of the themes, or if it's over 4 minutes, you then kind of run the risk of maybe overdoing things, or having one too many of the same riff. So we strike that balance really well here. It's almost a too accessible kind of piano theme at the start there, with a very familiar chord progression that works around those triads, and it allows a lot of wiggle room for Maddie Rose to do whatever they want vocally. Working with occasional chromatics, but sticking kind of like diatonically really neatly, with like some interesting sort of like trails or little bits of vibrato would kind of peter off. It's very expressive, but the keys just wonderfully, they provide a sense of rhythm as well, with an absence of the drums in that earlier section. I think the use of some of the rim shots, as well as the hi-hats, the kicks, and the snare patterns there, I like the occasional rolls that we have, but just that kind of slow halftime focus there, that kind of drawing out of things. It illustrates that we're building towards something, but also that we're kind of having to drag ourselves through it. I like that the drums aren't an all the time thing. It's not just that they're not there at the start. They also have parts where you just do cymbal hits there, and it allows a kind of a point of interest for the listener. Oh, why is this going around the stereo field? Why are these cymbal hits there? But it also is a nice little way of subtly indicating a halfway point of a turn. And I like that we go between the hi-hats and the rides. That we're not just relying on one cymbal within the kit, we're exploring it to a certain extent. But it's a very supportive performance. I think the bass response that you get at a similar point that the drums come in as well is just nice and well-rounded. And while I think the bass is mostly very kind of supportive of the chord progressions as opposed to trying to find its own identity, I think that's a sensible choice here, because you've got enough variety compositionally within the vocals. I've just noticed that in the chorus section, you have these kind of main sort of vocal lines, and then you have again, I'm doing a disservice to Maddie Rose's vocals there, but they're kind of like more sort of pad-like, almost kind of like elements in the background, very atmospheric and ambient there, just again providing a lovely sense of depth to the mix. There's also an interesting kind of wistful guitar tone there, with kind of a rotary verb, kind of a chorus to it, and it plays arpeggios of sort of interludes, should I say, or intervals. And it's very kind of purposeful It's sad sounding. It's kind of timid a little bit, you know. It's kind of a quirky little manifestation, I suppose, of another angle of the story. But it's a very occasional thing as well. It's a texture that you notice immediately when it appears, but it only pokes its head out sometimes. I just think in terms of compositional variety structurally as well, that's kind of neat. I also think this is kind of like vinyl kind of warped honky tonk piano. And it's just how, you know, Maddie Rose goes down and then that follows after it. Or I think, to be fair, sometimes it goes first and then Maddie Rose follows that, and then that is more sort of like pronounced. It's just nice to have those elements like vocally kind of recognize the keys in that bit and work with each other. I think that the kind of the descending, the crashing down. I think we do have some string sections later on. There are a bit of oomph with the violins. And I like that there's a bit of drama and purpose in that, and reinforces and accents some of the rhythmic devices with the eighths there or quarters, but also just enhances the mid-range there. It's a nice way to sort of increase the oomph of the finale of the piece without again being too much. And for Maddie Rose to kind of be signing us off by themselves in that ending part there, it's just very soulful there. You don't know if they necessarily have found the end of their journey, but you know that at least they're putting up a fight to try and get out of it, I suppose. Yeah, the drums with the rim shots that you have occasionally as a substitute for a snare are just a great sort of subtle device in some of the earlier sections then to not have the intensity of the full sort of snare sound. At the 32-second mark as well, I just like the use of that riser as a kind of synthetic element there. It's cool because you just know you're building into something. And I know that's such a generic thing to say, but you could have not had it and had the kind of the pulse of everything kind of coming in, but it might have been a little bit too blunt. And I think there's an inherent smoothness that we're still trying to approach within this type of music, this kind of like acoustic kind of pop. And I love it. I think that it's just sensible. I think that if you had too many sort of like synthetic elements within this, it might have been a little bit too much. Kind of having the grounded tones of, again, the keys and the guitars and the drums, acoustic drums and stuff like that, I think with Maddie Rose's vocals not needing to be overproduced. I just feel like we found the right balance of textures and timbres there. But thematically, I think that the way we stick to the diatonics and kind of keep it a bit more sort of harmonically accessible to people is good. There's some occasional bluesy scale choices, if I'm not mistaken, there that infer a sense of further sadness and sort of like depression, but I think the mid-range focus for some of the elements, especially as we go through it, kind of indicates that we are still trying to find a solution to this, and I appreciate that. You know, they're looking for the light. And they continue at the end of that, and I hope they find it. I hope that they find it. And the fact that I feel that way after listening to a song means that, at least in part, it was effective. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering was commercial grade. Fantastic quality to the vocal recording itself. Maddie Rose could just sing. That didn't need to be overproduced. It didn't need to be fixed in post. The guitar tones, keys, were distinctive. There was space and reverb tails in certain parts there. There was dynamic range. Things weren't the same loudness all the time. Sometimes the vocals and keys are quiet. There was space without any sort of like weird ambient noise or anything sort of usual or unwarranted. The drums and the bass and everything else were nicely metered within the frequency spectrum as well as in the stereo field, and ultimately just left very satisfied with it. There's absolutely no complaints on my part about how things were accomplished or attributed here. There is dynamic range, both from a compositional production perspective, and it's nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting is handled. And just ultimately, I'm just really impressed with this track. There's no applicable constructive critique. I just feel as an isolated concept, it's wonderful. It was very mature. I'm not sure how old Maddie Rose is, just judging by the album art. And I'm not going to be patronizing about it. You know, if we go back here for a moment, there you go. I just think they've got a wonderful future ahead of them. In terms of my general thoughts from a listener's perspective, I just love how well the industry works nowadays. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with music at the moment, which is not ideal, which I won't go into right now. It's just because it's already been spoken about so much. But when I listen to musicians like Maddie Rose, it gives me hope for the future. And I wish them all the best of luck in future with their musical endeavors. Because thank you for watching my review of this track from an actor named Maddie Rose titled Show Me the Light. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page as well as Instagram. And I also just want to mention that stories like these, which show people not only sort of struggling with things but still trying to find hope, I think they'll be inspiring for people who can relate to them. Stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next Desperate Reacts. Spiderhands out.